Hello, so we actually prepared a video beforehand. Please enjoy. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Brenda, the Creative Design Lead and Project Coordinator.
And I'm Eileen, Project Manager and Research Manager.
Together, we make up Team Spatium from YWLA San Antonio High School.
My role as Project Manager and Research Manager involve the logistical aspects of our project, including research and the development of our solution.
And I was in charge of creative design as well as meeting deadlines and other preparations needed to ensure that our project was successful. So now onto our project. The COVID-19 pandemic has changed the world. It has led to new regulations to keep our communities safe, like encouraging social distancing. We know that social distancing is one of the most effective interventions that we have to reduce the spread of COVID-19, but at times it can be difficult.
We crowdsourced data, which is linked in the QR code in this slide, and we found out that about 31% of our peers claim that they have a hard time knowing how much 6 feet is, and more than 80% agree that it can be difficult or awkward to ask others to move away from them.
So with that data in mind, and considering that we both have underlying health conditions and our family is at high risk, we wanted to make something that could help and protect others.
We came up with Spatium, a wearable and portable technology to help with social distancing.
Of course, this development did not occur overnight. We followed the engineering design method to help us along the way. We began by identifying our problem, which is that social distancing can be difficult. We then found out how to execute a plan and planned our prototypes. We've actually continued testing and improving our prototypes to this day.
In order to make wearable social distancing technology, we would have to detect people and their distance. We figured that infrared would work best for this.
Infrared is a type of light with a wavelength just beyond visible light, so we cannot see it with our eyes. For our first prototype, we wanted to focus on the basics, so we sought to detect an emitted infrared signal within 6 feet. An infrared signal is like the one sent from your remote to your TV.
So you can actually see an infrared signal from your remote with a camera. So even though you can't see it, you can actually see. It's really cool.
Yes, and you can try that at home. It's really fun. Anyway, we wanted to create a simple device to detect an infrared emission from 6 feet to trigger a warning signal that would lead people to social distance or move away. This would be the simple framework for us to continue developing and making new prototypes for our project.
So we developed this prototype on a breadboard, and then we soldered it and placed it in the housing shown in the lower right-hand image. For this prototype, we used an OLED display, which is essentially just a small screen, a buzzer, an infrared receiver, a rocker switch, and an Arduino Pro Mini.
We wanted to make things as small as possible to ensure portability, so the largest item is actually the 9-volt battery, and the estimated unit price is about $12.25. However, we're sure that we could drive this price down by buying in bulk.
So the Arduino Pro Mini is actually a microcontroller. This is like the brain of the whole operation, and it can regulate and receive electrical signals to read sensor inputs or control motors. And this is actually where our code comes in.
So in this case, coding is like writing a recipe for the computer to follow. The code we wrote for our prototype is pretty long and requires some more explanation and in-depth, so feel free to look at that by scanning our QR code, which has our code sharing site linked below.
Like the flowchart shows, the code basically tells the microcontroller to display our logo. Then, if the infrared receiver sees the signal, it should display a warning and ring a buzzer, and return to displaying the logo. Otherwise, the controller should continue showing the logo and checking the infrared receiver. It was very satisfying to see our logo displayed on the small OLED.
Yes, it was very cool. So now we have our demo, and here's our actual prototype. So you can turn it on using the rocker switch.
And here you can see the OLED. It's a bit too bright to catch on camera right now, but you can see the images in our binder or our PowerPoint.
And here is our infrared emitter. So we can use this and we can actually point it and it displays the warning sign and the buzzer noise. And it actually works from all directions, which is really great for social distancing. After testing this, we realized that this device would actually require others to have an emitter and a similar device. So a device like this could be useful where social distancing is very important, such as hospitals, and in this case, patients and visitors could be required to wear the device to ensure that both are staying safe by socially distancing.
So the thing is, my partner and I wanted to wear this ourselves without requiring others to wear a similar device. So, by using the engineering design process, we decided to modify this prototype and expand its capabilities. This brings us to our second prototype, a far more advanced project. This is where we brought in the experts. We had Python concepts introduced to us by Miss Gant and Miss Bailey, which we will touch on more later.
Yes, and now for this prototype, we wanted to be able to detect if a person was within 6 feet without needing another device. And this means that we would need to recognize humans, bringing us back to the ideas of using infrared. So humans emit heat, which we can see using infrared cameras.
So, like the images show, when a subject is far away, there is a clear difference from when they are up close. This makes it easier to detect how far a person is.
And it's really simple.
Well, actually, that's not the case. The reason for that is because this project establishes the question, how can a computer identify a human? Which brought us into the research portion of the engineering design process. A human is more complicated to detect than you may think.
And this is because a computer is like a baby that's really good at math. A computer can learn by taking an input like a child, but instead of seeing things like we do, the computer observes patterns in groups of images. So if we show the computer many images of a flower, it should be able to differentiate between something that is a flower and something that is not a flower.
So, despite being difficult to do, we want to use machine learning because social distancing can be hard in the moment. For us, being shy makes us uncomfortable to tell others to move away, and knowing exactly how much 6 feet is can be difficult. Our machine learning algorithm does this for us, so we hope that this can be a valuable solution.
So for the development of this prototype, we used our infrared camera or array, a special Arduino capable of running machine learning, Jupyter Notebook, and other libraries and sources that eliminate the need to start from scratch.
So how did we do this? Well, it took a while. In our flower example, the computer needs to see many images to notice trends in what was going on. So the first thing we did was collect these images.
Yes, we want the computer to be able to differentiate between a person that is within 6 feet and a person that is not within 6 feet. So we collected 100 images of each.
We did this using our infrared camera and microcontroller. Then these raw values were interpreted into an image using the script shown on the side. And this script is actually a Python script, which is just a programming language that we mentioned. If you'd like to see the code in more detail, you can find it in our code sharing site or repository by scanning the QR code below.
And we repeated this and saved the images to produce our database. And now that our database was complete, we were able to train our computer.
Okay, now for the hard part, training the computer. Luckily, this wasn't so difficult for us, as someone had already created a framework for us to utilize. I modified the code in a Jupyter Notebook and just made it work with our images. To do this, I simply changed the data source to our data set.
Yes, here the code splits the images, so 70% are used for training and 30% are used for testing.
Then, pre-existing codes allow the model to be built. Lastly, this is saved as a C++ file, making it compatible with our Arduino.
Again, you can find this code in our QR link if you would like to take a look. And our algorithm actually reached a maximum accuracy of 92%, which we want to continue to improve by collecting more images and training our model. So, using machine learning and special microcontrollers like the one we used, we can implement this code into our first prototype.
This way, it would work on its own without requiring other people to have a similar device. Machine learning has been used to classify dog breeds, diagnose illnesses, and much more. Smaller machine learning is cutting-edge technology. We no longer need to carry computers on our back for machine learning algorithms to function. Today, it can be run on a device smaller than a piece of gum, and we can run our algorithm on this as well.
And then implement that into our first prototype. We have yet to implement our algorithm into our prototype yet due to a lack of supplies, but we hope to do so soon. So our prototype can be used in hospitals, grocery stores, or with children who are unable to social distance in schools or daycares.
With some modification, our algorithm can be implemented into other situations to ensure that others are maintaining their distance, and also our first prototype.
Ultimately, we were able to learn so much more through guidance from professionals. Our creation, Spatium, can provide a way for people to stay safe.
Our first prototype allowed us to understand how we can create a wearable device, and our algorithm provided a new solution to social distancing.
So Spatium is a valuable solution to keep our community safe. The applications of its use extend to any social event where social distancing is important. We hope to continue developing and improving our prototype, and until then, we know that social distancing isn't going away anytime soon, and hope Spatium can be a valuable solution. Thank you so much for your time. On this slide, we have a QR code, to our binder, and we also have our works cited slide on the next page. We look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you.